SportsTalk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network on this Wednesday night, right in the heart of football season. We bring you some basketball to go along with your football tonight. We're in Charlotte, downtown Charlotte, for the ACC basketball tip-off day for 2022, for the 2022-23 season. Brad Brownell, the Clemson Tigers, one of the last teams to come through this afternoon, and we're going to let you hear from Coach Brownell coming up in just a little bit. Also today, back in Columbia, our own Pat Daniel was busy with the Gamecocks because they were having basketball media day over at USC. Good timing for them considering there's no football for them this week. So they get the basketball team a great deal of exposure back in Columbia. And they had Coach Lamont Paris, and every player on the team was available to meet with the media, including, of course, the freshman, and we'll see if he's a freshman sensation. He's expected to be a freshman sensation, but I don't like to label freshmen as sensations until they show us that they're sensations. G.G. Jackson. So Pat was over there. We'll get his thoughts on the Gamecock basketball team in just a moment. Meantime, Clemson football's getting ready for Florida State. Tigers heading down to Tallahassee this weekend. We'll talk more about that. We'll have our Chalk Talk session coming up at 6:35 with Chuck and Ellis, get their thoughts on what happened this past weekend and what is coming up this coming weekend. So we have got just a jam-packed show for you tonight here from Charlotte and in Columbia and down in beautiful, wonderful Sardis at the Berge Palace there, where Chris Bergen is joining us too. So as far as Clemson basketball is concerned, the big story here is P.J. Hall and his health, and the belief of Brad Brownell that a healthy P.J. Hall, along with everybody else staying healthy. Remember, Hunter Tyson missed significant time last season, but a healthy P.J. Hall with all the other parts that they have, and they added Brevin Galloway, the transfer from Boston College, who's from right there in the upstate. He likes this team. He thinks this team can be a very, very good basketball team. But P.J. Hall still having trouble with the leg. He had the foot surgery and then came back from that, hurt the knee, had knee surgery. It's going to be November, some part of November at the earliest, before he'll be able to play for the Tigers. And that's being optimistic or maybe being realistic. November for him, as they will have some ACC games coming up in December. So that will be extremely important for Clemson and the season ahead for them. So, Chris, looking forward to some basketball around the corner. Of course, yes, you're the voice of Coastal Carolina basketball, and the Chanticleers are getting ready to crank it up as well. Cliff Ellis in his 85th season of coaching college basketball, or so it seems. But Clemson, from an outsider standpoint, I like the look of this team. I'll tell you what, you better have the roster with you because you've got Hunter Tyson, and then you've got Chase Hunter, and then you've got his brother Dylan Hunter, and then you have the two Chaunceys that are coming in the freshman class. So without a roster, there's going to be a lot of confusion on this team as far as the names are concerned.
Phil, the only concern you have to worry about is two letters, P and J. If they don't have P.J. Hall, as we saw last year, they're not a very good team. And the concern you have if you're Brad Brownell, because he's pretty much been given an ultimatum by Graham Neff, this is it. Win, get to the NCAA tournament, or bust. And P.J. Hall is the guy that's going to get him there. Because I think with P.J. Hall, this is a very good basketball team. We saw flashes of them being a talented team last year. The concern you have, though, how long is P.J. out? And if he's out middle to tail end of November, of course, that means he will not be involved in the South Carolina game in Columbia. And if P.J. Hall's not in the mix, you would think the Gamecocks would have a huge advantage over Clemson, unlike sort of last year. I mean, the Gamecocks didn't have enough bodies to go play Clemson because of COVID a season ago. And now the reverse may be true with injuries. And I hate to see this with PJ because we saw what happened to him last year. with the injuries, especially his foot. And if you're a basketball player on a bad foot, that's a quarterback with a bad shoulder, isn't it? I mean, it's a situation that can't get healed up during the season. And if he can't get it straight before the season tips off, I just don't know what kind of team they're going to be able to put out there, because so much of what they do revolves around the ability to get the ball inside. And PJ does so many good things for them. I'd like to see a healthy PJ Hall go through a season to see what Clemson could actually be.
Yeah, we've seen him dominate. We've seen him dominate. Brad Brownell said today, a healthy PJ Hall, he's one of the top 5 or 6 players in the ACC, in his opinion. Right. And you're right, with a healthy PJ Hall in the middle. And then the thing about this Clemson team, they've got a chance to be very long with the players they're bringing in, 6'6", 6'7". They can run Hunter Tyson as a 3, maybe even as a 2, be 6'7" there. They have a lot of flexibility. And the young man Ian Shefflin, who was kind of forced into action last year when PJ Hall was injured, I thought he stepped up and gave them some good minutes as well last year. You got to believe he's going to be improved. So it's a good-looking team if they can just stay healthy. They finished 17-16 last year. It was a roller coaster ride for them. Remember, they lost 6 in a row heading down the stretch of the season. Then they turned around and they won 5 in a row, and they went into the ACC tournament, and they won a tournament game. But then they lost that second game in the tournament to Virginia Tech. Remember that? It was a controversial finish, as I recall. Yeah. A bunch of stuff going on at the very end, and Tigers lost by a point. So they were, very close to advancing to the next day, the third day of the ACC tournament. One more win might have gotten them into the NIT. But you're right. I think there is some pressure building on Brad Brownell to get the Tigers to the postseason. But look, they were just in the postseason year before last. They played Rutgers in the NCAA tournament first round and got beat. So it's not like they've had an extended drought. But I think you're right. New AD, and he wants to see them in the NCAA tournament. We'll see if this team can deliver. But it was good talking some basketball and being around real tall people. You go from covering football where you're dealing with real large people to covering basketball, and you're dealing with real tall people everywhere. I want to bring Pat in if he's got a moment while he's putting the show together back in the studio and get his quick thoughts on the Gamecocks today and being around Lamont Paris and being around all the players in Columbia. They made everybody available in waves. And, Pat, what was your takeaway from Lamont Paris as far as his feeling about this team, how he feels practice has gone to this point, and then the general feel from the players about, of course, there's a bunch of new players. This is the thing about the Gamecocks. You need a roster for them, too, because they've got so many new names and faces.
That's right, Corn. And back when Lamont Paris was first announced as the new hire for the Gamecocks, I'll admit I was openly critical. I wanted B.J. Mackey to get the job. I thought that it would be better to keep it somebody local, somebody that wants to be here. Not to say Lamont doesn't want to be here, but he changed my mind a lot today. He gave a spectacular press conference. I spoke with him privately for a few minutes beforehand. We just happened to be walking into the arena at the same time. And we hear the term winning the press conference. He absolutely does that every time. And even though I may have personally wanted a different coach brought in, I certainly would give him all the respect and hope that he's able to do well here. And just hearing the things he said today, I feel pretty confident he's going to be successful here. He has a certain aura about him, the way he carries himself, the way he conducts himself, the way he interacts with his players already, even having only been here such a short time. He just seems like a winner and will do great things if the Gamecocks give him enough time to do so. And, of course, bringing in G.G. Jackson in his first year will help in his first year find a little bit of success. And a couple things that stood out to me where he talked about his system and how he described his defense as being far harder to learn than his offense for his players, and that his teams typically progress as the season goes and are playing their best basketball come March, which is a lot of coaches may say that, but he has proven that at Chattanooga. And if you're a fan out there, that's when you want your team playing the best basketball is towards the end of the year. He also talked about how his team will be very hard to score against. They're going to be up in your face, playing full length of the court on defense. It reminded me kind of a Nolan Richardson, the way he was describing of how his Arkansas teams were back in the 90s. He also came out with a Bruce Lee quote, which really made me and a few other media folks perk up. He used the quote, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And he was describing finding his individual player's strengths. And instead of making one guy have to be great at 3 or 4 different things, if you can just be really good on defense or really good passer or really good from the 3-point line or something of that, he wants to find those individual strengths and then take advantage and utilize those strengths. I thought that was interesting. And then when he was asked about the Ibrahima Diba injury and what he expects to do at the point guard position, he mentioned Ohio State transfer Michi Johnson, of course, being the one to immediately step in and playing some point. But he also said that this team may not use a traditional point guard role, but instead play more of a fluid offense where it's just kind of 5 guys on the court as opposed to 5 guys kind of pigeonholed into 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 position. He also talked about his time back at Wisconsin previous to him being at Chattanooga, and pointed out that 18 to 22-year-old fans in the state of Wisconsin have only seen the Badgers miss the postseason tournament one time in their entire life. And he wants to bring something like that to Columbia. He wants to see instead of making a tournament here and then skipping 3 or 4 years and rebuilding and then making the tournament again, as maybe we've seen in the past with Gamecock teams, he wants to see more consistency and kind of keep that ball rolling year in and year out and being on either the cusp of making the tournament or making the tournament every single year. Gigi Jackson, kind of pivoting away from the coach onto the players now, can't say enough great things about him. He seems very humble. He was down to earth. He talked about how open he's being, learning from some of the older guys, and how he's already kind of had his welcome to college moments where some of the various players have either aggressively dunked on him or snatched loose balls away from him and kind of quote unquote posterized him a little bit. And he said that has absolutely humbled him a little bit coming in. I jokingly asked him if he watched those games, those exhibition games last week where we saw 2 of the biggest projected future stars in the NBA, or prospects, I guess we could say, and Victor Wembanyama from France, and then Scoot Henderson of the G League Ignite. They, of course, were on national TV twice last week. And he said that he absolutely watched both of them. He watched replays of the games, and he tries to take little bits and pieces from what those guys do, in particular, Victor Wembanyama, who, of course, is a 7'4" center out of France who has all the skill set of a point guard, but can also back you up to the basket. And Gigi has similar skill set where he is 6'9", 6'10", but he also has handles like a guard. And he claims that he's the best shooter on this Gamecock squad. But hearing him talk about how he views these other up-and-coming prospects, and he takes things from their game as well so as to add to his bag of tricks as well. I came away very impressed with this young squad, Phil.
Sounds like it. Looking forward to watching them play. It's intriguing because you do have who sounds like to be a very smart young coach with a lot of principled ideas in basketball from an X's and O's standpoint, Chris. A lot of principled ideas about how to play the game. I want to see how he unfolds things for everybody and how he can take this group of basically strangers to him and strangers to one another, and see if you can mold them together in a short period of time. You don't get a whole lot of time in college basketball anymore to put a cohesive team together.
No, you really don't. And the one thing, and reading some of the stuff that Pat tweeted out, listening to him describe what happened today, I'm impressed with Paris as well. But the one thing I am concerned about, well, first off, the positive side of the coin, it sounds, it sounds like, and Gamecock fans have seen this over the years, it sounds like a Frank Martin type team, where they're going to play extremely good defense in your face, and they will get better as the season moves along. Unfortunately for Frank Martin's teams, their struggles early in the year ultimately always seem to cost them come tournament time because they had losses to really bad teams that kept them out of the tournament. Lamont Paris is going to have to avoid those type head-scratching losses. The other thing, though, I will say that I am concerned about from what Pat described from the press conference today is going out and trying to play without a point guard in college basketball. That works in the NBA. It doesn't seem to work in college basketball. You look at all the teams that get to the NCAA tournament and advance to the round of 32, the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, and certainly the Final Four. Normally, the one trend of all of those teams is really good backcourt play. Now, Carolina, it looks like, has really good front court play. Let's see if they can figure out somebody, and maybe Michi Johnson is the guy. Maybe he's the guy that, especially with Ibrahim Adiba no longer in the mix, coming off his injury during the offseason, maybe he's the guy that will actually sort of morph into that point guard that every good basketball team at the collegiate level always seems to have. And
Chris, to piggyback on what you're saying there, you could see it on the faces of every player and coach that was asked about the impact of Ibrahim Adiba's injury. You could just read it right there that is a huge loss for this team.
No doubt.
Losing his playmaking ability, losing his passing ability, his court vision, and not to mention just his experience in big games. That is a huge loss. They will need players such as Jacoby Wright and Chico Carter Jr., and then maybe a couple of the younger guys as well to step up with that role. But it does seem like Michi Johnson, he was very confident in his ability to take on that expanded role, whether or not they do have him in a traditional point guard role. And then also you talked about the experience. I'd like to just point out that Hayden Brown, the Citadel transfer, who has 5 years of experience, I believe that's right, 5 years, he is already kind of being looked at as the veteran voice, the old guy voice in the locker room. And he, even just watching the players enter into the room where we were interviewing them and then exit from it, he is very much so the leader of this team. They all are kind of following his lead and his direction, and that may pay dividends as well. But to your point, to add on to it with potential weaknesses on this team, the first five will be very, very tough. They will play even the best teams in the country. I feel confident saying the first five will play the best teams in the country head to head. But where will that depth come in? How much of a drop-off will you see from players 6 to 10? And that in the second half of games this season, in particular early in the season, may cost them a few games.
All right, Pat Daniel back at our Dave & Buster's studio in downtown Columbia. Eat, drink, play, and catch the big games tonight. You got football, Louisiana Marshall. It's Sunbelt action. It's Mike Morgan on the call tonight in beautiful West Virginia. You can watch all of that, and you can watch the Braves later on. They've been in a rain delay. The rain appears to be moving out of the Atlanta area. It's probably going to be a little while before they get play underway, but imagine
they just announced, Phil, 7:30 start time unless it rains again.
Okay.
Which works out perfectly for the Braves. As we pointed out yesterday, they're really bad during the day, awesome at night. So getting this rain delay, moving game 2 into the evening hours may pay big dividends for Atlanta.
All right, and you got the Dodgers-Padres game 2 tonight out in L.A. The American League has the night off. All the games, all the food, all the fun, all the action available for you, of course, at Dave & Buster's. Eat, drink, play, and catch it all in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach. I've been chastised by a listener for not giving the addresses. So 1025 Woodruff Road in Greenville, 100 Columbiana Circle in Columbia, and 1322 Celebrity Circle in Myrtle Beach. That's where you can find Dave & Buster's here in the state of South Carolina. We'll be back with more, talk a little football, get ready for some Chalk Talk coming up after the break.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
Life insurance isn't for you. It's for those you love the most. For a complete insurance review, call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, serving Lawrence, Clinton, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states. When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hope, life, and the Great Palmetto. What do these things have in common? Scholarship dollars. The SC Hope, the Life, and the Palmetto Fellow Scholarships are funded by the lottery players of this great state. And after 20 years, you've invested over $7 billion in education. $7 billion. Impressive. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
Okay, we're back. It is Sports Talk on this Wednesday night. We're here in Charlotte as the ACC basketball tip-off for this year is it's over. We're one of the last ones here. There's a few television people to my left doing their stand-ups. I could jump on a number of different TV stations, mostly in North Carolina, if I wanted to jump up and run in front of the camera. Maybe I should rip off my shirt, spray some purple smoke in the air, tackle one of the sports reporterettes who's doing her thing. Was that mean calling them reporterettes? That was probably.
I am curious. Any South Carolina TV stations there?
Yeah, Pete Yannity was here from
very good.
WSPA in the Upstate, and let me think. I think that was the only one. Now the SEC will have their basketball media day in Mountain Brook, Alabama. That's coming up a week from today. Yes, we'll be there for that. But we will leave because South Carolina, Lamont Parish, they're the first ones up and in a week from today. We're talking about, I had to get up at the crack of like 9 a.m. to be over there for that. I'm not looking forward to that. So we'll hit that up and we'll have a nice lunch and then we'll hit the road, probably go to our studio in Atlanta, hit that up there, and then get on back to you, get back to normal things. Normal things being football this time of the year. I mean, we love the basketball, the intrusion of basketball. Fantastic. But we are in the heart of football season. We got a big game coming up, Clemson, Florida State. Our poll question of the week, by the way, has to deal with Clemson this time around. And, of course, the Tigers 6-0 at the halfway point. How many of their last 6 regular season games do you think they'll win? 201 votes, 48.3%. And say the Tigers will win them all. 28.9% have them down with 5 and 22.9% have them down with 4. I mean, they're going to be favored the rest of the way. But this Florida State line, Chris, has really gotten narrow the last few days.
It's funny you bring that up, Phil. I was going to ask you because I had a buddy of mine who's a big Clemson fan call me today and said he doesn't quite understand the betting line on this game at all. And I'm like him. I just don't see how this is what is the latest 3-4 point game. I just don't see what Vegas is seeing or what the bettors are. Yeah, it's a 4.5 point game, the latest I've seen in Florida State that we're missing. I just think Clemson is infinitely better on both sides of the football, especially on defense. And if Florida State can't run the ball, I don't understand this at all.
Yeah, they're going to be without their best running back probably. And Clemson's going to have a healthy defensive line because you're getting Bresee back. I think maybe Trey Williams will be back. You've got Tyler Davis back. You've got Xavier Thomas back. They may have that secondary hole as well. Yeah, how are they going to move the ball against this Clemson defense? We'll ask Chuck Reedy what he would do. And Ellis Johnson coming up.
Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Could have some rain right around and after dinner. Most of the Midlands get some storms overnight while you're asleep. Look for a low of 66. Tomorrow morning showers possible. Before the rain stops, the high hits 79. Looking ahead, Friday and all of the weekend will be gorgeous with sunny skies and highs in the middle to upper 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Sick and tired of the daily roller coaster, better known as the stock market? Getting slammed these last few months, are you? Well, think about thestockalternative.com. You want to invest, but the market is just too volatile. Call Matt at thestockalternative.com, 803-681-0528. I mean, inflation is ugly. Stock markets have not performed. Time for an alternative. Time for thestockalternative.com. Matt's local. He's a great guy. Call him, 681-0528, or visit www.thestockalternative.com.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones ordered by a jury in Connecticut to pay $965 million to those who suffered from his false claim the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting was a hoax. The verdict is the second big judgment against InfoWars host for claiming the massacre had been, quote, staged. For older Americans, it's a nice chunk of change. Thursday, the government will announce what could be the largest increase in Social Security benefits in some 40 years. The boost is meant to allow senior citizens to keep up with inflation. It's a major embarrassment for the Democrats in a Los Angeles City Council scandal. The president of the council heard to be making racist comments. This is SRN News.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. A big, bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled Mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get Mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not. Medicare Blueprint helped both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Hi, this is Marcia Clayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for The Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on The Point for The Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Gas prices, grocery prices, inflation has hit us all, and it's caused the Fed to raise interest rates. As a result, after historically low mortgage rates for what seemed like forever, interest rates for a mortgage have jumped in recent months. Fran Halloran here. Let me make something clear to you. Mortgage rates are rising. They may continue to rise as the Fed tries to get a grip on inflation. What hasn't changed is the incredible customer service you'll get from Greg McCoy and Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Greg can't control interest rates. He can, however, control fees. With rates on the rise, now more than ever, you need to know you're getting the very best deal. Greg will make sure of that. He's more than just a mortgage guy. Greg McCoy is your trusted advisor. You might be surprised to learn how much Simplified Mortgage and Greg McCoy can do to help you with your biggest financial investment. Not sure? Have questions? Give Greg a call at Simplified Mortgage, 803-722-6044, or find him online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com. Greg McCoy, NMLS 119871.
Fall is here. The leaves are changing. It's almost time for Halloween. That's right. It's time to adopt a pet from Columbia Animal Services. The best treats this October will be teaching your new dog or cat some tricks. Visit petfinder.com to find your new family member. Adoptions are $35, but you can get your new kitty or pooch from October 24th through Halloween for just a $15 fee. Visit petfinder.com and bring home a new fur baby from Columbia Animal Services.
Hey, we're back on Sports Talk. We are here in Charlotte as things are wrapping up with ACC basketball tip-off, wrapping up, packing up, pulling our power lines and everything else around us. But we soldier on here on Sports Talk. We shift gears to I'm not sure these two guys would know what to do with a round ball if you put it in their hands. They have to have that ball that bounces funny, not the one that bounces right back to you. Time for another edition of Chalk Talk, starring Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson. Gentlemen, it's great to have you with us once again. Eli, I want to start with you talking about the South Carolina defensive front and the effort, the performance they had against Kentucky. Everything considered, what'd you think of the way they played against the Wildcats?
I thought it was very solid. And I know Kentucky's they don't have the offensive line kind of they normally traditionally have. They usually have a bunch of older, tough guys up there, so forth. But they say it's a new bunch this year, but still, it doesn't matter. I mean, Carolina's got some guys missing. Huntley's still out, and then they've got guys missing in secondary. And they're starting to improve week by week. And obviously, I thought there was a difference in the game defensively overall. And I mean, they produced turnovers. They didn't win the turnover battle, but they got 2 takeaways, and they had not been doing that for the last couple of weeks. Rodriguez got his 100 yards, I think, but he didn't take over the game. And if he couldn't take it over, Kentucky had no chance with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, Chuck, you look at that Kentucky offense, and I mean, look, everybody has injuries. South Carolina was playing without some significant players as well. But you lose your quarterback, and you lose a quarterback the quality of Levis, really going to hurt you. And let's face it, that Kentucky offense was kind of playing with one arm behind its back.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, but you know what? That's football. I mean, you're going to have injuries, and surely they were shorthanded, and then that may have made a difference in the game. But I don't think any of the Carolina fans really care. And at the end of the year, it's a W, and that's all that matters.
And Chuck, when you looked at what they had to deal with regards to trying to get a quarterback who had never thrown a collegiate pass in a short period of time, my guess is in a perfect world, you'd like to have a couple of weeks to try and groom a guy to get ready to replace a quarterback as talented as Will Levis. You don't have that scenario. So how much, when you watched the game, did you see perhaps Kentucky change its offense, simplify it, and do some things maybe more heavily on the run game just to try and get through that game and figure out a way to win without Levis in the mix?
Well, they had to do that. And like Ellis said, Rodriguez was the guy they had to go to, and he's a heck of a back. But, and he got his 100 and some yards, but, it wasn't enough. And they were playing from behind the whole game. I mean, a minute into the ball game, they're down 7 points and they're always, and then, and it just kind of went from there. And the young quarterback made some nice throws. I mean, he's probably going to be a good player in time, but, and I don't know, I'd have to go back and look, but they've had close games. Obviously Florida and Ole Miss, but there should have been some time in there that they could have got this guy, got him some playing time, at least got him some experience so they wouldn't be in this situation.
Chalk Talk tonight with Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson joining us, looking back at Carolina, Kentucky. We'll get into Clemson, Florida State in just a couple of moments. And Ellis, back to South Carolina's defense with regards to them improving, as you pointed out, even with the injuries. Where are you seeing them make, say, since the Georgia game, for instance, where have you seen them maybe make the biggest adjustment over the last 3 weeks and maybe the biggest improvements?
Well, I'd have to say it's kind of two things. I think the front, where they're more experienced, I think players are as a group. They're starting to play a little bit better, more physically. They're getting more pressure on the quarterback. Again, they did an adequate job on the running game Saturday, which was enough. And then there's some young guys that have had to play in the secondary because of all the injuries they had. And they're getting better. Plus, they're starting to get a couple of those old guys back. So it's not a really fun way to develop depth, but they developed some depth out back because they didn't have any choice. So I think that's two different areas that they've really improved in. If they can continue to play physical up front, the offensive lines are just going to get better. There may be two more teams on their schedule that won't have the offensive linemen Kentucky had. Most of them will be better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll ask both of you this same question, and Ellis, we'll start with you. When you went in as a coach into an open date, like South Carolina has, coming off a big win, did you want to continue playing? Would you have preferred to have a game this weekend, or is having an open date a really good thing for them, especially at this juncture in the season?
Well, the only thing I always said about open dates, if we weren't healthy, we needed open dates. Even if we were playing well and had a little roll on, you need that open date. It will help so much to get some kids back. And the other thing, if it's a pretty tough opponent, you always act a couple of extra days preparation and maybe work on a few things. So I think it's come at a good time for them. I know they've got 3 wins in a row. I know the people they beat are not all very good football teams. It remains to be seen if Kentucky will even be 500 this year.
Mm-hmm.
But Carolina's playing well, but I still think the more important thing is the open date to get some of their guys back.
Chuck, how about you? When you approached that open date, did you like it when it came off a 3-game winning streak? Would you have preferred to continue to play? And if not, and you wanted the open date, what do you think Shane Beamer and his staff are trying to work on offensively and defensively before they turn the kids loose this weekend?
Well, I think it's coming at a good time, and they're feeling really good about themselves right now. That was a huge win, regardless of Kentucky's situation. That was a huge win for them Saturday night, and so you're coming in. The kids are feeling good. You can go out and get a lot of good work done. I'm looking at them offensively. They're beginning to develop, some identity, and that's huge. And if they will just continue to build on that identity, I think they got a chance. They're gonna beat some other people down the road here that maybe early in the year we didn't think they could beat.
All right, back with you here from Charlotte. It's a Chalk Talk. Many folks around the state just had their fondest dreams realized, guys, because the crew here at the Westin literally pulled the plug on me as I was sitting here talking. I mean, the internet was just ripped away. I'm hanging on by a thread, I'm at the 1-yard line fumbling going in, which reminds me to ask you this question, Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson. I don't know if you watch Florida State, NC State, or maybe you've seen the reviews, but what'd you think of the call on 2nd and 8 by Norvell when you're in field goal range and you have a kicker who had kicked a 47-yarder? Now, I don't know what his relationship is with his kicker, but 2nd and 8, you're down a point, you need a field goal to win, and he throws it to the end zone, a play that they had run previously. NC State apparently recognized the formation, kind of knew what was happening, played it well, got the interception. What'd you think of that call?
Well, you're asking a guy that loves to run the football. So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think I thought of it? I mean, I'm pulling my hair out. I mean, what are you thinking, buddy? I mean, God darn.
Yeah.
No. I mean, no. Run the ball.
No. Yeah. Yeah, run it a couple of times in the middle of the field and send your kicker out there.
Yes. Anyway, yes.
Yeah. I kind of missed what you guys were talking about. I don't think I'm going to repeat it because I'm going to go over to Clemson, Florida State. Ellis, with you. This Clemson team went up to Boston College and pretty much slammed the door on them defensively. It looks like they're getting healthier and healthier as the weeks go on. What do you foresee with this defense now? 6 games ago in the regular season. I mean, where do you see them moving in terms of slamming the door on upcoming opponents? I mean, are they about ready now to kind of make their statement nationally to what was expected of them in the preseason?
Well, I think they've crossed the bridge, these last, not this win, but the 2 previous wins, they got by a couple of teams that had a shot to beat them. And they got maybe 1 or 2 more on that that'll be every bit as good as they are, but they will be favored probably the rest of the way. But I thought they proved Saturday. The thing I saw is that the front showed up. And I've been a little concerned about that during the course of the year. And I know they've had some musical chairs, had some unfortunate situations with kids out, but the front was not taking over games. And that's where all their dudes are. They're still young at corner. They have not faced a good quarterback this game. And I think when they start seeing a really balanced attack, somebody can throw the football, somebody can protect a little bit, they're still going to, have some challenges. But it was pretty much, I thought just like you did, they kind of turned the corner a little bit, and they looked like the defense that everybody was talking about a month ago.
Chuck, the Clemson offense, it gets better as Uiagalelei gets better. I guess week by week. He did throw kind of a poor interception there early on against Boston College, but then they sort of gotten straightened out and went on from there. I mean, they were more than good enough.
Sounds like Phil may have had his internet pulled for good this time, guys. So let me step
in. Going up there with a bunch of basketball.
So let me see, Chuck, if I can sort of piecemeal and cobble together what he was trying to ask with regards to Clemson's offense. It sounded like he was headed. Do you see them now starting to execute at a very high level now that DJ has sort of settled in and shaking off all the criticism that he got last season?
Well, he certainly has improved. The biggest difference between last year and this year, I think, they had 1 turnover in this game, but the 2 previous games against probably the 2 toughest teams they'll have on their schedule all year, they had 0 turnovers. And if you can play without turnovers, you're going to have a good chance to win every week. And that's the difference between this offense and the offense they had last year. They're not fumbling the ball around and throwing silly interceptions. And, and so I think that's a huge difference. I think Uiagalelei, obviously he's lost weight. Obviously he's more athletic than he was a year ago. His running ability is much better. And in Clemson's offense, quarterback has to be the second runner in the backfield. I mean, he has to be a guy that can carry it, 8 or 10 times a game. And he's showing now that he can do that. And, last year, he was a little suspect in that area. So, those 2 things. And then the other thing that they've really done a good job of is utilizing their tight ends in the red zone. I mean, those guys are 2 mismatched nightmares down there, and they've really done a good job of utilizing them. So, yeah, they're much better. The offensive line is still, they didn't run the ball well the other night. They're a little, they're okay. But sure, Uiagalelei is much better, and and therefore the offense is better.
This question either of you could answer, but might be more directed at Chuck from an offensive standpoint. The other night, 4 out of 5 scoring drives for Clemson, the offense was running tempo. A handful of the other drives, they were not. They were kind of slowing the ball down. My question is, from an offensive coordinator standpoint or play calling standpoint, how do you decide when to use tempo and when exactly not to use tempo?
Well, I think it's whatever the offense coordinator, what he feels comfortable with, and what the quarterback feels comfortable with. And I think sometimes if you can get a defense, if you see that they're dragging a little bit, or they're on the heels a little bit, you want to speed it up and hurry the offense up. And then there are times, obviously the clock plays into this, where you want to slow the game down. So, it depends on the game itself and the score and the situation.
Couple more minutes here on Chalk Talk with Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson. Ellis, I
Hey, you're
understand
back.
you're not a big fan. Yeah. Ellis, you're not a big fan of the round ball here in the state of North Carolina?
No, I love basketball. Did I ever tell you about my Citadel basketball career? We'll talk about that one day.
Didn't know that. No, what happened there?
Well, I played freshman basketball for Les Robbins.
Really?
Were you kind of were you the enforcer on the team, or what were you?
I was wherever he told me to be in practice.
Did you ever score in a game?
I did, and in fact, I scored a couple of points in the old Carolina Coliseum.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
We went in, and Brian Winters scored about 60 points, so everybody got to play.
I didn't know you were a multi-sport star like that in your college days.
Yeah. When
That's
you get
great.
half your class run off by the military cadre, you come over to the football locker room and ask, "Has anybody played basketball?" And everybody raised their hand. But fortunately, I was one of three that got kept on the team. But it was a fun year.
All right, let me ask you finally. We got that Tennessee-Alabama game, and Saban said today Bryce Young is, as he put it, on a pitch count, which means I guess he's going to be available, but they're going to watch him closely. Chuck, what about this Tennessee team? And Alabama's probably the biggest game between these two in decades, I would think, taking place in Knoxville. Who do you like here?
Well, I tell you what, Alabama they've dodged the bullet several times. I like Tennessee. I mean, I think they're going to score some points, and so it'll be up to whether or not Alabama can score enough points to keep up with them.
Ellis, what do you think?
A little bit similar. I think Tennessee's improved on defense, but they're going to have to keep Alabama out of the 30s. I think Alabama's good enough to keep Tennessee in the high 20s, but may not be. But if Tennessee can get up in the high 30s, this thing's going to get interesting. It'll get pretty sticky.
You think, Chuck, you think Tennessee will – I mean, you do what you do, and that's like the fastest offense in the country as far as getting up and snapping the ball. Is that wise against Alabama?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Alabama, that's one thing they've had trouble with in the past. They've had problems with, with teams that were real up tempo. And I think Tennessee will be going as fast as they can go Saturday, and just see if Alabama can keep up with them.
All right.
They're not going to change. I mean, they've had too much success so far.
Ellis, how do you think Saban will counter that defensively?
Well, I don't know. I think Chuck's exactly right. One of the teams that's giving him the most problem is Kiffin, and he can get up tempo really good too. But they struggle with that because I think he's so detailed and intricate on defense. A lot of times that doesn't work versus tempo. But I think that the key is that depending on whichever quarterback plays, they've got to sustain some drives and put up points and match Tennessee, because I think they can slow Tennessee down. But I don't know if anybody can keep them off the board completely.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great session. Ground Chuck, as he said, loves to run the football, and point guard Ellis Johnson in his. I want to see Coach Johnson in his basketball shorts. I'd like to see that, man. That'd be a sight to see. There's got to be evidence somewhere.
You got no female listening audience, obviously.
Right. No, well, we're hoping you would attract some to us. That was the idea. So. Hey, guys, we thank you. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, there you go. Ellis Johnson and Chuck Reedy, a Chalk Talk here on Sports Talk. Learn something new every time they're with us, whether it's personal or football related. Always.
I was
going to ask
you if you knew that Ellis had played basketball, at least on the freshman team at the Citadel. And to go against Brian Winters, I mean, that would have been fun. Not to try and defend him because he was nearly
Right.
indefensible, but
No, I don't think Ellis could have defended Brian Winters whatsoever. All right,
Not
let's hit
many
our
people
break
could.
here as we approach the top of the hour. Let's hit our break, and we'll come back, wrap up the first hour. Hour number 2, got plenty of basketball. We hear from Lamont Paris. We hear from Brad Brownell, and there is no break, they tell me. Okay, that's good. We cleared out our break. So we'll hear from the 2 basketball coaches coming up after the top of the hour. We'll have our recruiting report as well. And so we're looking forward to hour number 2. And our phone number, 888-898-2525. Might get around to some phone calls in our second hour. 888-898-2525 is the number. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number on Sports Talk. Since 2002, more than $2.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund life scholarships for the state's college-bound students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at seeducationlottery.com/education. Wins playing for fun is a win for education. It's pretty obvious that none of the setup around here was done with me in mind. I'm not going to be shocked if the chair is pulled away from me in the next little bit.
Are they sweeping trash around behind you?
Everything. Well, you know how it is, man. The folks who do the cleanup, they don't care. They're cleaning up and they want to get done and get out of here. You got all the ESPN crew, I guess, and the local hotel crew packing up all the different things that were set up for the media area. In all honesty, they only run this thing till about 6:30, and we're the only one that does a night show of the whole media group that's here. I mean, TV's gone. I guess the writers' room is still open. Are there any writers still in there writing? Maybe so. But here in the broadcast area where I'm sitting, everybody's gone. And so they don't care about me. There's some tables that are still open, but there's no power. I mean, I can go plug in over here at the wall if I have to. But, I mean, my extension cord was pulled a few minutes ago. And I'm expecting the electrical bar I'm plugged in as well to be taken away here shortly too. So little by little, things are being peeled away. So the Braves are going to be cranking up here at 7:30. Try
That's
and
the latest,
bounce
yes.
back from that loss last night. And it's going to be who? Kyle Wright going for them tonight?
Yes. Yeah, because Freed pitched last night, and Spencer Strider, I think, may go. I don't know what they're going to do with Strider because he's going to be on the pitch count if they throw him tomorrow, or on Saturday. Wait a minute, we're Wednesday. If they throw him on Friday, so I'm not sure how they're going to handle the rotation. But Wright's scheduled to go tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. It sounds like it's going to clear up in Atlanta, so they'll be able to get that in. Now, the game in New York tomorrow for the Yankees, that game is very iffy because of the weather moving up the coast and getting into the New York area in the Northeast. So they could have another day of rest, which, if you're the Yankees, you got a good outing last night from Garrett Cole. You used your bullpen a little bit, but now, I mean, you could have a couple of days off, and that's going to get everybody in that bullpen ready to go again. So I guess if you're New York, you're okay with that. It doesn't bother you. You're still going to be at home, and you'll have a fully rested bullpen again, ready to go in game 2.
I didn't quite understand why the American League Divisional Series have a day off today and then a game tomorrow. And I'm assuming on Friday they would have a travel day going into the weekend, whereas the National League goes back to back and then travel day tomorrow and they're back at it Friday.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's a TV thing. This is how they wanted to do it, so they could play them a late afternoon game and a night game tonight, and then tomorrow the same thing, a late afternoon game and a night game. That'd be my guess. TV's probably calling the shots on that, and that's how they set it up. So we shall see. Dodgers jumped out to a big lead last time. The Padres made a little bit of a run, but I don't think they ever caught them. I went to bed with the Dodgers up by about 2 or 3 runs. What was that final score? Do you remember?
All right, off the top of my head. I have to look that up real quick.
That's okay. We just know the Dodgers won.
Yes, they did win. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Got the break coming up here at the top of the hour. And like I said, we'll hear from some basketball coaches coming up because it was Basketball Media Day here in Charlotte for the ACC and Basketball Media Day back in Columbia for the Gamecocks. So we'll hear from Brad Brownell. We'll hear from Lamont Paris. And later on, we'll hear from some players as we move on maybe through the rest of the week and into next week. No rush to get them on because we're still a little ways away from the start of basketball season, the actual games that will count. I mean, both will have some exhibition games to open things up, but then they get into the meat of their schedule soon after that in November.
5-3, by the way, Dodgers beat the Padres last night for
Right.
their
Yeah,
111th win.
Yeah. And they built a 5-0 lead, and then the Padres scored 3 and had a chance maybe to make a deeper run, but they could not get any closer than that. Okay, we'll hit the break, top of the hour here on Sports Talk. We'll be back. Don't go away.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones has been ordered by a jury in Connecticut to pay $965 million to people who suffered from his false claim the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting was a hoax. Correspondent Mike Hempen says during the trial, Jones acknowledged he was wrong about Sandy Hook and the shooting was real, but on his show, he was remaining defiant.
He called the proceedings a kangaroo court, mocked the judge, called the plaintiff's lawyer an ambulance chaser, and labeled the case an affront to his free speech rights. He claimed it was a conspiracy by Democrats and the media to silence him and put him out of business.
The Labor Department is publishing a new proposal on how workers should be classified, saying that thousands of people have been incorrectly labeled as contractors rather than employees. Also at townhall.com, new survey shows many people believe the country is moving away from a solid immigration policy toward one that migrants are encouraged to freely cross the borders.
The Rasmussen Reports Immigration Index for the week of October 2nd through the 6th decreased to 94.3%, down more than 3 points from 97.9% 2 weeks earlier. During his campaign, President Biden pledged to greatly reduce the level of enforcement against illegal immigration, but in the latest survey, 53% of likely U.S. voters feel the government is already doing too little to reduce illegal border crossings and visitor overstays. 13% say the government is doing too much. 25% rate the level of action as about right. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Western powers say they are now pledging to supply Ukraine with more potent air defense systems. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold, the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Years ago, scandal after scandal rocked Beijing's political establishment, that in a run-up to a Communist Party Congress. There have been many repercussions and problems since those days. Correspondent Charles De Ledesma reports.
Most damaging was the murder of a British businessman by the wife of Bo Xilai, a brash and rising political star. Bo was expelled from the party and sentenced to life in prison for bribery and corruption, eliminating a chief rival to Xi Jinping. The run-up to this party conference, by comparison, is hushed. Analyst Ho Pin says, gone are the factions, pluralism and open political differences that once existed within China's one-party system. Chinese politics, he adds, is entering a completely new stage. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Could have some rain right around and after dinner. Most of the Midlands get some storms overnight while you're asleep. Look for a low of 66. Tomorrow morning showers possible. Before the rain stops, the high hits 79. Looking ahead, Friday and all of the weekend will be gorgeous with sunny skies and highs in the middle to upper 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, we're back with you here on Sports Talk Media Network. We're in Charlotte as the ACC folks are cleaning up all around us as we've wrapped up ACC tip-off for 2022. The poll will come out next week. We received the ballots this afternoon. We've got till first part of next week to get the vote in. I don't know about Clemson. If P.J. Hall is healthy, Hunter Tyson's healthy, new parts coming in, I don't know. Where would you put him in the preseason poll? About number 9 or 10, maybe? Who would be?
That's where I'm
thinking. Would fall in underneath them? You have to think about who would fall in underneath them. What do you think? Like Boston College, certainly. Who else would fall in behind them?
Oh, it's a great question. I know who's going to be at the top. This is really easy. If North Carolina is not the preseason favorite to win the ACC, I'll be stunned with what they have coming back. I mean, that's a national championship caliber team that I was going to say Roy Williams, but don't have to worry about that anymore. They've got up there now. But yeah, I'd be stunned if they're not number one. Now, after that, I'll be curious where they slot Duke into the poll too.
Well, you look at the recruits that Duke, Shire has done a fabulous job of bringing in top line talent. I think you look where Clemson is, and you'd have to say who's behind Clemson. You'd have to say Boston College is a possibility. Georgia Tech would be a possibility.
Syracuse.
Louisville was terrible. Last year. They had all kind of problems. Syracuse was very below average for them. Maybe those could finish behind them. Maybe
NC
Virginia
State, Georgia
Tech.
Tech.
Maybe they can scoot by Virginia. Yeah. It's I think maybe the Tigers can manage to finish in that middle part of the standings. You mentioned North Carolina, probably not going to certainly be up there. Duke. Now Florida State should be good once again. I think Miami will be strong once again. He's such a good coach and always gets the most out of his players. Pittsburgh. That would be one that you would say, no, Virginia's going to be very good.
That's what I mean. They're going to be
I'm
back
thinking
this year.
Yeah. Pittsburgh, I'd say, would be one that could finish behind the Tigers. So they could finish ahead of 5 or 6 teams, which would put them at about 7th, 8th place in the regular season. Well, here is Brad Brownell. We had 2 sessions. We had a group session with a coach and 2 players up on a stage in the main media room, and then they had what was called the breakout room, where each player and the head coach got his own table, and so the media could go from one to the other. And we've got all of it on our website, sportstalksc.com. What we're going to play for you here is the breakout session with Brad Brownell. It was me and just a couple of other reporters. So here you go. You'll hear the beginning of it with the first question and his answers as he talks about his team for this year.
You're talking about PJ, so just what you go into what more of this process has been like for him trying to come back, and I guess what exactly kind of he's.
Well, he's been dealing with a lot. Two major off-season injuries is hard, and he's done really well. He's that kind of young man. But he had an episode where he got frustrated and a little, down. And we've had to kind of pick him back up, and that was, he's past that now because he's back in a better place where I think he sees the end at least coming. But that's tough, man. He gets through the foot surgery, and really, one of the first days back trying to even go out on the court with us, and he's back down on his knee. And, in some ways we're thankful that it was just a kneecap. Like, it could have been ACL and been done, and that would have been tragic. But he's good now. He's, again, he's made a lot of progress here. He works really hard at it. He's a little bit frustrated just watching our team at times. And, we have a lot of young guys, so there's a lot of teaching. And there's sometimes that I think he wishes it was going better. And, I understand, PJ, they're young. Remember what you were like. And he kind of forgets that. But he's doing great, and I think he'll be fine. And we're excited to get him back.
Is he doing some ball or just not?
He's shooting. Yeah, he's shooting. And that's really about it right now. He's not doing a bunch of dribbling. He started to do some running. So, yeah, he's running and doing a little bit of shooting. Just trying to get in shape and get stronger. And, we're hopeful in the next couple of weeks he'll be able to do a little more.
Newcomers that you brought in, the freshman transfer, I mean, you're looking for immediate impact in that group?
I think Brevin will play right away. Certainly is an older guy that brings some physical strength to the wing and can shoot the ball and has ACC level experience. So he'll be, we wanted at least one guy that, has been in high major games and knows what this is about. And we're playing on the road somewhere and he's not looking around. He feels good about his performance. So he'll do that. Our freshman class I really like. RJ Godfrey is big. I mean, he's 6'8", 230. He's physical. He's tough. He's got the physicality and athleticism to play right away. He's got to learn the game the way we want him to play it, but he'll be out there. Chase's brother Dylan is a 6'3", 190-pound freshman guard, which is big and strong. And, he's played high-level high school basketball, so he's experienced more than most. And so I'd say he's probably further along than the other two. Chauncey Wiggins is 6'10", and, needs to add weight, get stronger, but he's got some tools offensively that are, really good. I mean, he passes and dribbles and shoots for a guy who's 6'10". It's really impressive. And then Chauncey Gibson for a guard is 6'5" and long, needs to add weight, but, positional size. So that's part of what we were after, is positional size and more versatility, right? Just have guys that can play a couple different positions. I think all of them, probably minus Dylan. Dylan's more of a point, play multiple positions, and in their future is going to be good.
What do you kind of see with RJ as far as his role in this year?
Defend and rebound and score when he can with whatever's there. He's not going to be a primary option offensively, but he's good enough to, make some plays, make a shot, make a three, drive the ball to the basket, post up with a big body, offensive rebound. Just kind of play, right? Just learn how to play within our system with the other guys, and he'll score off of whatever we're doing, and by himself making a play or two that's there.
Who you got running out there right now in your first 5 or 6?
Well, the older guys primarily now. Is it going to stay that way? I don't know. The younger guys are, I think, gaining ground on certain areas, and then obviously PJ, we're hoping at some point he's going to be in that mix. And then, I think the thing that I like about this team is I think we could play a Hunter Tyson at the 3, occasionally, or for some minutes, or maybe even games. We'll see. He's not, he hasn't done that since his freshman year, probably. He's been more of a 4-man, and but like RJ or Ian Shefflin could play some 4, and that gives us a bigger, stronger team. We can play 3 guards and probably put 4 guards out there if we wanted to at a time or two. And so we have the ability to change based on, what we need to. And I think as a coach, that's part of the thing that I feel like I'm at my best when we have versatile lineups. Sometimes we've had some teams that haven't been as versatile, and so we haven't quite been able to make some of the adjustments that you need to, or I think we need to, in games. And a lot of times, you want to either be able to try to make somebody else adjust to you, or if they make an adjustment, can you match it? And this year's team, I think, will be able to do some of that.
Is there somebody on this team maybe who was not as prominent a player last year, but has made strides over the summer? We'll talk more about it.
I think it's a good question. I think the guy that has kind of been lost is Josh Beadle, just because he was redshirted, and so sometimes when you're redshirted, you're forgotten, right? He was just kind of a, a guy that we had a lot of guards last year. And he was, weaker and just he needed a year of maturity. But he's done a really good job. He's added 10 or 12 pounds of muscle, and he's more confident. He knows a lot more than, he did when he got there. And, he's one of those guys that he's got another gear. Like he's got a gear of quickness that can let him get by people. And so he's just kind of a guy that I think nobody really talks about. Everybody talks about Brevin, and they mention the freshmen and older guys, returning guys, and he's kind of a lost guy. And so, we have 5 freshmen that haven't played, but, he might be the one of all the freshmen that's the furthest along just because he's been with us a year.
Can you kind of describe his game?
Just, what? He's wired to score, so he can go score. He's quick. He handles it well. Probably can play a little bit of both guard spots. And he's got, he's 6'3". He's got a little size to him, so he's just kind of got a little herky-jerky game. Like he's just kind of does some things that are hard to coach, that he can just kind of play. We're just trying to get him to get comfortable, get confident, and make sure he makes good decisions. And, he played well in France, so that was good. Got to play a lot, which was, he's excited because he hasn't played.
At point, is Chase going to play?
Probably mostly Chase at the point, but I think that's one of the things that we can do. We can put Dylan out there and move Chase to a 2. Chase has played 2, 3 most of his career, but he's always been a guy who's our second ball handler. So he's handled the ball against presses. He's initiated plays when some teams deny your point guard. He's always been able to bring the ball up, get us into offense, do whatever. He's really good off ball screens, making reads. So the ball will be in his hands a lot. But, Josh can do some of that. Dylan can play the point. So, we can move Chase around a little bit, and we probably will in certain games.
How do you read the defensive prowess of this team so far?
We're okay. We're not as far along as I'd like to be. We really need PJ out there. That's an area that he's got to work on a little bit with his foot last year. He couldn't move quite as well as we would have liked, and he couldn't practice very much, so we couldn't get enough good reps on certain things to make him a little bit better. And then just having so many new young guys, that just makes things slower. But we're okay. Like, I like the fact that we're bigger, right? We have more positional size. We're not going to get shot over top of at the guard spot like we have been a couple times in the past. And again, we can adjust and be big if we want to be big. So, we just right now, 10, 12 practices in, we've got a lot of teaching that still needs to go on. Not good. We're good right now. So that part's been encouraging. We got PJ, and that's really kind of it.
You feel like, it's time for a little change in the odds when it comes to injuries?
I hope so, yeah. Like, Hunter's been out the last 2 years for extended periods. I mean, he's one of those glue guys that you're just better with him, right? Like, you just win more games when he's out there. It's not some games he's shooting it well and you're scoring, but he rebounds pretty well for his size. He's tough, kind of knows how to play, and he's a confident guy. And so losing him last year, I think, really hurt us. We got the good win against Florida State. I thought we were starting to flip it, and he goes down, and it was hard. So, those two guys and PJ staying healthy is important because they're probably bigger difference makers than everybody else.
There you go, Brad Brownell from earlier today here at ACC Media Days in Charlotte, or Media Day, as the case may be. And they do a great job, of course, basketball really being the crown jewel for the ACC over all these years. Clemson football certainly carrying the water on the football side of things. But they treat their ACC Basketball Media Day with a lot of effort and respect. And, for example, they take pictures of all the players and coaches, provide that to the media. You don't ordinarily get that. That's a useful tool for us in putting our stories together. And they have it in a great location. And this was a long day if you were here from the very beginning. And first interviews began at about 9:15 this morning, and they wrapped up about 5 o'clock. So it was long day, shoving it all into one day. Of course, they did the women yesterday and the men today, and SEC will do the women on Tuesday, and then the men next Wednesday, just outside of Birmingham. So,
how many people followed Hubert Davis around today?
Well, I would say that the main interview room was much more crowded when the Tar Heels were in there.
Sure
They brought three players. Everybody else, I think, brought two. I don't know if anybody else brought three players or not, but they had three players. They look good. I mean, you got to figure North Carolina as one of the strong favorites to win the national championship again with their surprising run from last year. But they've got a good number of those players, if not almost all the major players, back from that team. So why wouldn't you think of them as maybe the front runner to win it all this year?
I would agree. And back to Brad Brownell's comments, I kind of like his idea about moving Hunter Tyson to the 3. He's a guy who's not going to hurt you rebounding from that position. He can shoot the 3, to pardon the pun. Plus, he's a pretty good defender. I think him playing the 3 position is a pretty good spot for him. My question for the Tigers, not just P.J. Hall, but who replaces Alamir Dawes, who for some reason, I get it, he's a New Jersey native, but transferred to Seton Hall during the offseason. I mean, who replaces those 84 3-point shots that he made last year? They've got to find somebody to be able to knock down those many threes. And I guess they have somebody in the pipeline. It just remains to be seen.
Well, I think they'd be counting on Brevin Galloway to come in and do that. And remember, Brevin Galloway, who's from Seneca, went to Seneca High School, I think it was, but he's from Anderson, but I think he went to Seneca High School. And his brother played football at Clemson, tight end. He is a tremendous outside shooter. That's where he makes his living. And remember, last year at Clemson, he lit the place up coming off the bench. I mean, literally led Boston College from a come-from-behind situation to a runaway win over the Tigers, a startling loss for them last year. So, yeah, he'll be the guy they'll be counting on for a lot of their outside power. Alex Hemingway will be another one they'll be counting on for a lot of threes. And he is a dead-eye shooter when he gets it going. He's one of those guys that has to have the confidence, has to have the rhythm, has to have the playing time to get out there and get his shot and kind of get into that rhythm. So those are a couple of, I think, really good outside shooters that they'll turn to this coming season. All right, so let's hit our break. We'll come back and do the recruiting report for tonight. And then bottom of the hour coming out, we'll be joined by Scott Powers. Scott, of course, with Experience Columbia SC. A lot of things going on in the capital city right here in October. A lot of exciting things coming up in the sports world around Columbia. Scott will share that with us. And then Lamont Paris, USC's first-year basketball coach. We'll hear from him and his thoughts today as well. Be back in just a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue.
We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk Media Network. Let's hit some calls. We can hold the recruiting back for just a little bit. We got some callers waiting for us, and we are going to go to Keith in Camden. First up with us tonight. Hey, Keith, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, Phil, Chris, Pat.
Hey.
Three things, and then I'm going to let you choose because I know you're on a tight segment, which one you want to talk about. First, a comment. First half of the Carolina game, block punt, and then we don't capitalize. I was concerned that may come back to bite us. Second comment, I want to compliment the job y'all do, and I tell you what, I make sure every week I'm listening to Johnson and Reedy. That is a great segment you do. And third, just let Ray Tanner remind him that I can't get 28 people on and off the field in 4 minutes, much less 280 people.
Are you going back to that thing? Huh? You going back to that thing?
Well, look,
let it go. Let it go.
You got three there.
Well,
you decide, brother.
Okay, we can handle all three of them. Number one, the Gamecocks had chances to really put it into Kentucky last weekend and missed some opportunities, but they took care of business in the second half. They kept the game, of course. Yeah, they kept the game right there and then put it away in the second half. That first drive to open the second half was pretty significant. The second one was, well, thank you for the compliment. We appreciate it. Third, we talked about that ad nauseum when it happened, and you're right, getting 300 people off the field in less than 3 minutes. Not a way to honor them and not a way to organize things in that situation, considering that they were holding up the football game at, what may or may not have been a critical time for South Carolina. We'll never know. But it certainly upset their head football coach at that particular point, not knowing what was going on. He wasn't expressing his anger, at the presentation because he didn't realize they were honoring the Title IX anniversary with what they were doing. He was hoping to get his players back on the field and run a play before Georgia could set their defense, and it just kind of messed it all up for him.
Absolutely. Look, love the show, and if Ray's got an opening in that department, sign me up. Y'all have a good night.
A assistant athletic director for good ideas. That would be Keith. Put him in that role. Assistant AD for good ideas and how to execute those ideas. Yeah, that was not well thought out. I mean, whatever. We talked about it. It wasn't well thought out. It wasn't executed, and I doubt they'll ever do it again. We go to Gamecock Larry with us next here on Sports Talk. Hope he took his Geritol before the phone call. Gamecock Larry, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, Mr. Phil. I got you on my radio. You tell me what to do, and I got you on my radio.
Oh!
Yes,
if I've done nothing else this week, we've accomplished that. I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, sir. But do me one more favor. Teddy Hefner, my old friend from a long time back. If you ever talk to him, why, I don't know, either give him my number or something, or let me know how I can talk to get a hold of him. Mr. Teddy Hefner. Now,
did you? I remember you said the other night you were 88, so I'm just wondering, did you play against Teddy in high school? Did y'all face off against one another? Because he's 85, 86.
Yeah, we always beat him. Teddy, we always beat him. But let me. I'm gonna got something to say about them kitty cat nation. I can't get a kitty cat to call me. None of them. So I'm gonna try to pick a fight with somebody else. Tennessee Mike. I'm gonna tell you. Oh, you y'all getting high talking about beating Alabama. If Bryce Young plays, Alabama will beat you by 17 points. If he don't play, they still gonna beat you. I'm telling you right now, Coach Heupel, I don't like it because you got attitude. And I like my old Coach Nick. Coach Nick got his boys ready for you, sir. He's coming to get you, and I'm gonna sit back and boy, I'm gonna enjoy it. Got 1 week, I don't have to worry about the Gamecocks. I just watch.
That's right.
Well, I tell you,
Four straight weekends. We got to go, Larry, but 4 straight weekends where the Gamecocks will not have a loss. 3 straight wins and an off week. That's a great vacation for Gamecock fans. Back after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Could have some rain right around and after dinner. Most of the Midlands get some storms overnight while you're asleep. Look for a low of 66. Tomorrow morning showers possible. Before the rain stops, the high hits 79. Looking ahead, Friday and all of the weekend will be gorgeous with sunny skies and highs in the middle to upper 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Los Angeles City Council President Yuri Martinez resigning her seat today amid a scandal over racist remarks that came to light in a leaked recording. Martinez announcing her decision following outrage and calls for the resignations of her and 2 other council members. ACT scores made public today, revealing a sharp decline in preparedness for college-level coursework. Overall, the average composite score was 19.8 out of 36. This year was the first time since 1991 the average score was below 20, and it was the lowest average in more than 30 years. The report shows 42% of ACT tested graduates in the class of 2022 met none of the subject benchmarks. This is SRN News.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on shooterschoicesc.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, shooterschoicesc.com. Make it your first choice. your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Attention listeners, con artists have many tricks for stealing your money, but the AARP Fraud Watch Network is here to help you protect yourself and your family. We give you the tools you need to spot and avoid scams. So listen for the AARP Fraud Watch Network alerts. Use our scam tracking map to see the latest scams and sign up for prevention tips and alerts from law enforcement. To learn how to outsmart con artists before they strike, visit aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network.
Hey, it's the Cigar Militia. We want to thank the Midlands for a wonderful first year. Thank you for helping us grow. We had no idea we had so many good friends out there. One thing I love about the cigar culture is we all have our favorite brands, but we're also willing to try new ones too. Come in and get your old standby or have one of our knowledgeable staff members walk you through the humidor to your new favorite. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard in the same plaza as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
We continue with Sports Talk here on a Wednesday night, final 30 minutes of the program, 25 minutes of the program. From Charlotte, as we wrap things up at ACC basketball tip-off, reminder, we'll be at SEC tip-off next Wednesday. And but we won't be in Alabama for the show. We'll come on back towards Atlanta, get to our Atlanta location, save some of the trip back to South Carolina. That'll be a busy week next week with the Gamecocks taking on Texas A&M for a night game in Columbia. Oh, yeah, and the State Fair will be going on as well. That's going to be an absolute nightmare. I would think an absolute nightmare from a parking standpoint. So we shall be looking forward to that come next week. Now, today, back in Columbia, Pat, you were there with the Gamecocks. It was a basketball media day for them. Lamont Paris, first go around for him with the media in terms of a media day setting. He's done interviews, and of course, he was interviewed after he was hired. And but this was the first time he's had a chance to really work with his team in an official capacity, then sit down and talk with the media about his team. So I'll let you lead into his comments about his team at this stage of preseason camp.
Yeah, and like I said, today I know he blew me away, and I spoke to a couple other folks afterwards. We hear the phrase winning the press conference, and I know that this is not his first introductory press conference as head coach with the Gamecocks, but it is the first one of his first season, and he absolutely won the press conference. Everything was fantastic from start to finish. He spoke about his time at Wisconsin, at Chattanooga, and about the relationships he formed there and kind of what small parts from each coach he has worked with he now brings with him to Columbia. He talked about why he chose certain assistant coaches. In particular, I was really blown away when he talked about Tim Buckley and his experience being an NBA scout with the Minnesota Timberwolves and what that will do to help players such as Gigi Jackson and other players who may have NBA aspirations. But I'll be honest with you, Smitty cut this up. I'm not sure where he began this, but if it's from the very beginning, it's him just talking about his plans for this program and what he's trying to build for the future.
They are really enjoying themselves and being around each other every day at practice. And so it's been really fun to be around them and to watch them and to coach them. So really excited about that. And we'll be scrimmaging someone in 10 days from today, which is crazy to say that it'll be here at that point. And so, but really like the group that way and really excited about this year. So with that, any questions that anyone might have?
Hey, Lamont. Dave Cloninger with the Post and
Dave,
Courier.
how are you?
Good to see you again. How are you?
Great.
When you come into a first-year program and you're doing what you can with recruiting just to build a roster, will this year be more about trying to implement the system that you want long-term, or do you have to kind of tweak it and say, I've got to coach this group of guys this way just for this year?
Both. Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, we're not going to be from a personnel standpoint, we're not completely suited to do everything that I want to do. So it would be hard-headed of me to try to force some things on the personnel that we have. But at the same time, there are some things that are going to be in our DNA as a team as we move forward. And so those things will be implemented. And fortunately, those have less to do with ability and more to do with willingness to try those things. So, yeah, good question. But I think it's a little bit of both. I normally will morph kind of what we do. I've had bigs that were back to basket scorers that didn't shoot threes at all. I've had bigs that only shot threes. I've had bigs that were rim runner, block shotter, shot blocker, dunkers, and I've had bigs that were under the rim, on the ground, chester uppers. So there's a lot of flexibility in what you do, but there are certain things that will be a part of our DNA.
Hey, Lamont, I'm with you on the stairs thing. I'm still catching my breath over here.
There you go.
Too. But as you've gotten these guys on campus and gotten to know them a little bit better, what's maybe surprised you about some of these guys where you think, man, wow, I didn't realize this guy was like this, whether it's basketball wise, personality wise, or things of that nature?
Yeah, from a basketball standpoint, let's see. One is Michi Johnson, in terms of some of the passes that he's made on a consistent basis. I wasn't, he didn't play the point, and that was part of the reason why he came here, is because he wanted to play the point guard position. And so sometimes guys just want to play the point because they bring the ball up. There's a whole set of responsibilities that goes along with that has kind of been lost in translation over the last 15 years, I would say. And so, but some of the passes that he's been able to make on a consistent basis, so it's not like he tripped and fell his way into this pass. He's done it enough times that he sees that pass and is willing to make that pass. So that was, in your terms, a surprise that they consistently would see that and make that play. From a basketball standpoint, you're such in year one in information gathering mode, and then making your adjustments off of what you're capable of doing, that I didn't have, my expectations weren't in a particular place. I think that's when you get surprised, right? I expected to rain today and then it's sunny, so I'm surprised at that. So my expectations were I really wasn't going off of expectations, so there weren't a lot of surprises. But I'm pleasant. I mean, it's not a surprise, but I'm glad that what I do see out there is a group of young men that do enjoy the whole process of working, improving, being criticized, elating, having frustrations, running hills, lifting weights. We have a group that seems to really enjoy doing that with each other. And so that's always a good sign when you have that. And so I'm happy that's where we are with that.
Hey, Coach. Rick Henry, WIS-TV.
Rick, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Hope you're doing well also. Following up on what you just said, you said you really like this group. And when you look at what you're trying to accomplish on the basketball court during practice, what do you like the most about what you're seeing from this group?
Our willingness to dedicate themselves to doing something that's completely uncomfortable and foreign to them, that I believe will help win games, even though they don't necessarily see that it will help us win games. You think about being in that situation. You're asking me to do something. It's uncomfortable for me. I'm not even good at it. I don't want to do it. And I probably don't even think it's going to help us win. But you're asking me to do it, and then I willingly do that, and I'm criticized when I don't have successes doing that. It's a hard situation for any of us to be in, let alone guys that are, I used to say it used to be 18 to 22. It's 17 to 24, I think, for us this year. So in that window, it's hard to be in those circumstances and then still come every day and want to work. So I've really, really, really been happy with and I feel fortunate. I've thanked these guys. I've thanked these guys for doing that. They don't have to be like that. They don't have to They didn't pick me. Some of these guys, some of them did. So they don't have to be like that. They can, and it's not always the in vogue thing to be like that and to be willing to try something that's outside of your comfort zone, especially with kids of this age and this particular era. So.
Yeah, Lamont, outside of Colin Taylor, Gamecock Central, I guess outside of wins and losses, which obviously is the main thing, what do you consider a successful year for you guys in terms of building a program in year one?
Growth and getting better. I think even in the best teams that I've ever coached, that's been a thing. Rarely have they come out of the gates really fast and then didn't really have to get much faster. It's happened a couple times, I think back to the 2015 Final Four team that we did. Not the 14 team, but the 15 team was good instantly and consistently. Those are rarities. That's a rarity. And so my calling card and trademark has been teams have gotten better. Some had no choice but to get better a couple times and got marginally better, but some have made tremendous improvements. And so for this team to be a success at the end of the day, to me, I will evaluate where we are on November 8th and then what that looks like in March, and then I'll continually evaluate that throughout the season to see how we are continuing to grow.
Lamont Paris, I like the way he talks. He's a guy, sounds like he's got a great grasp of basketball. Sounds like a guy with a great basketball mind, a great basketball intellect. Doesn't sound like, I'm not comparing him to the predecessor, okay? Everybody's got their own style.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like a screamer and a stomper and a threatener. Sounds more like a guy who is an instructor, somebody who is always looking for the positive, not the negative, more of a support guy than a break you down and build you up. Now, he could be totally different in practice, and I don't know. I'm just from listening to him there. Well, of course, Frank Martin with the media back in the day was always good too. Yeah. So I shouldn't just draw that conclusion. But I think this guy is polar opposite in terms of his coaching style from what Frank Martin was.
Well, and I will say this about Coach Martin. The one thing I always enjoyed about listening to him talk, he would make up words as he went through a press conference. You and Pat and myself and Smitty and whoever else goes to cover the Gamecocks this year, not only are you going to need a roster just to make sure you know about the new players, you're going to need a thesaurus too to listen to Coach Paris. Like you talked about grasp of basketball knowledge. How about his grasp of the English language? And some of the descriptions and adjectives and stuff he threw out about his team, rim runners and push-uppers, and I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. He's like I said, it sounds like he's a pretty sharp cat when it comes to his knowledge of basketball. And he worked on a great staff there at Wisconsin. They had a ton of success, and he's hoping to bring that to South Carolina. All right, we'll come back from the break and give you tonight's recruiting report, and then we'll wrap things up from here in Charlotte and tell you what's going on with the Braves and the Phillies. They are playing in Atlanta after a rain delay of about 3 hours or so.
Yep.
It was supposed to start around 4:30, got started around 7:30. So we'll get that to you. We come back from the break, and don't go away. Sports Talk continues after this timeout.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, hunting is very popular across the state of South Carolina. Major Downer, what things should our hunters be thinking about before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. Whether it's turkey season or deer season, hunters always need to be aware of the target. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
All right, time for the recruiting report here on Sports Talk on this Wednesday night, brought to you by Seawells. And, of course, the Seawells Daily Luncheon Buffet. It only gets bigger and better as the week progresses. And I'd like to invite my friends here in Charlotte who are breaking down the room around me to go to Seawells and have a delicious luncheon buffet. And you know what? If any of them would take me up on it, I'd pay for it. But I don't think any of them are interested. And find some happiness, while you're rolling up the cords and pulling the table out from under me. No, they're good. They're working around me, and I feel like I've got at least 20 minutes left, and we've only got 10 minutes to go, so I should be out of here in good shape. So I feel good. I feel the room closing in on me a little bit, but I think we'll be all right here before they get to my table. Anyway, Seawells, get over there for lunch. Rest of this week, Thursday, Friday, and I think we've got a big RBF on Friday. Am I right about that, Pat? Do I remember an RBF alert on Friday?
You've got that right. It will be a roast beef Friday along with Southern fried chicken and fried pork chops. But first, tomorrow on Thursday, Seawells will have sliced turkey with cornbread dressing, Southern fried chicken, and fried flounder.
All right, very good. Before I get to recruiting, I meant to mention this from Dabo Sweeney. Talking with the media up there after practice. And it looks like, except for Sheridan Jones, possibly, sounds like the Tigers are going to be as healthy as they've been all season. It looks like they're expecting everybody who has been out for one reason or another to be able to go against Florida State. And, of course, those who have been out and have come back, they're expecting them to be able to go. So pretty much going to have a full team of healthy Clemson football players ready to go to Florida State. Promise you one thing, if they get a chance, and we'll have to see how the game plays out, if they get a chance, they're going to try and put as big a score on Florida State as they can because they're still pissed about the COVID game. Yeah, they're still mad about that, and they're going to make them pay, I'm sure, if they're able to. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. All right, now for the recruiting report tonight. We've got a lot of good stuff for you. 2024 receiver Alex Taylor out of Greensboro, 6'2", 175, says people kind of compare him to a T. Higgins type receiver, which is not bad at all. He's going to get to a short list at some point in time. It looks like Clemson's going to have a place on that short list. He was in Raleigh and saw the Wolfpack beat Florida State last weekend. Before that weekend, he was at Clemson and saw the Tigers defeat State in that battle of top 10 teams. He said that visit was great. It was first time being there for a game. He loved the atmosphere. He is no stranger to Tyler Grisham, the receivers coach. The two first connected at the Clemson camp last summer. Grisham has been in pursuit ever since. And he was telling him that he reminded him of a T. Higgins type player from the first time he saw him, as he put it, in real life. They feel like he's a guy that can come in and play immediately and make some big plays if he works at things. So Clemson very much in the hunt. He likes the fact that they play freshmen like Antonio Williams and Adam Randall. So that's impressed him. Auburn just offered Taylor, and he also has on his offer list Coastal and Duke and Penn State and Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, West Virginia, North Carolina, Missouri, and Appalachian State, along with Clemson at NC State. He's still evaluating the schools, but he confirmed that Clemson will be on that short list when he gets around to it. This weekend, he's going to Virginia Tech. He's also been to games at Duke at North Carolina, along with Clemson and State. He plans to get back to Clemson for the Syracuse, Miami, or USC game. And this season, 35 catches, 542 yards, 7 touchdowns, career-wise, 82 catches, 1,266 yards, 14 touchdowns, according to Max Preps. Clemson target athlete Myson Kelly of Daniel, they call him Tink, who had considered making a commitment announcement Friday, said this afternoon he is postponing that until later. He decommitted from Virginia Tech last week. Clemson offered the next day. Tigers like him as a receiver, but he could play corner. He's been to Clemson in the past. He'll be back for the Syracuse game. Also plans to visit Oklahoma, Florida, Virginia Tech. USC commitment offensive tackle Isaiah Jada of Snow Junior College, Utah, offered by UCF. USC target cornerback Tyler Scott of Mableton, Georgia, offered by East Carolina and Maryland. Clemson target safety Khalil Barnes, offered by Georgia Tech. 2024 offensive tackle Jordan Floyd of Lilburn, Georgia, who's drawn interest from Clemson, offered by Pitt. USC offered 24 receiver Terrence Moore Jr., 6'3", 190, of Tampa. Athlete Sudarian Harrison, 5'10", 165 of Woodland, offered by Virginia. Virginia also offered Dutch Fork safety Landon Danley, 6'2", 190. Wide receiver Tyler Brown of Greenville decommitted from Minnesota on Tuesday, then picked up offers from Appalachian State and Virginia Tech. 2025 quarterback Marshall Pritchett of Charleston plans to visit Georgia Saturday. Basketball, USC women made the top 8 with 2024 6'2" Toby Fournier of Toronto. The others are Connecticut, UCLA, North Carolina, Duke, Michigan, Stanford, Arizona, and 2026 point guard Rayon DeSouza of DeSoto, Texas, took a visit to USC this week, I think. Picture was posted this week, so I'm assuming she visited this week. That, my friends, is recruiting brought to you by Seawells. Okay, let's see what's happening in Atlanta. And Phillies had a little bit of a thing going in the top of the second, didn't score. Braves are batting in the bottom of the second, 2 out and nobody on. Dodgers and Padres coming up later tonight, scheduled for an 8:37 Eastern time. So this is kind of, I'm sure, baseball was thinking, okay, have a game in the afternoon, have a game at night. But now they're going to have 2 games at night, going to split their audience. One's on Fox and one's on FS1. So, that's not what Major League Baseball had in mind, I'm sure.
Well, especially the game on FS1. I mean, what are you thinking when you only had 2 games? Use TBS and Fox, you would think. I mean, but the same situation NASCAR
you can't,
runs into as well.
Well, I think here, I'm thinking last night, San Diego and the Dodgers, was that on? Maybe they're having to put that second game on Fox FS1 because the first game's on Fox and is running into the night. They had no choice but to put it on FS1 because TBS is doing the Yankee series. So you just can't take that crew from there and put them on another. See what I'm saying? They had to stick with what they've got already assigned.
And that's probably, and that quite frankly probably has nothing to do with it because tonight TBS has All Elite Wrestling, and my guess is they probably get a higher audience for that than they do for baseball.
We're not touching wrestling.
No, and Fox has got the Masked Singer on tonight. They probably get a better rating on that.
Yeah. Hey, what happens if the Braves lose tonight?
What
happens if they lose tonight?
Yeah, I just can't see them beating the Phillies 3 in a row.
Yeah.
This is
they might very well win. They might very well win tonight and go to Philadelphia and take 2 in Philly and call it a day and then move on. But Phillies are a hot team right now, man. They went into St. Louis, and St. Louis was a really good team. They beat St. Louis, and I don't even think Jordan Montgomery got a chance to pitch, did he? Did he appear in that series?
Not
I don't
sure
think
about
he
that.
did.
Yeah.
Not as a
And-
starter. He wasn't one of the two starters.
And from Philadelphia's perspective, they've got their ace going tonight, and then their number 2 guy tomorrow. They won a game they weren't expecting to win. I'm sure they went to Atlanta hoping to get a split, winning tonight and losing to Freed yesterday. But now they've got a chance. You get greedy now. If you can get 2 in a row in Atlanta, you're in high cotton going up to Philadelphia this weekend.
And Braves have gone down in the second inning, and so they go to the third, scoreless in Atlanta. Okay, that will do it. Final thoughts on everything, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I'm just glad basketball season's back. And of course, it never went away. I mean, they practiced so long. It's just nice to actually start to see the end of the road, start to see the finish line cropping up on basketball.
My final thought is I'm just glad I didn't get thrown out with the garbage here in Charlotte. We've enjoyed it. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow.